Hi grade 10s, it's Miss Thungraj here. I'm happy to be making you another video today about quadratics. And today what we're going to learn how to do is to multiply a binomial by a binomial. And this is lesson 2 of assignment number 4. We're going to work on the page in your assignment that looks like this. And what we want to do today is we want to multiply quadratics that are in factored form and change them into standard form. So if you can keep in your mind that the whole point of today's lesson is to take equations that are in factored form and change them to standard form, that's really going to help you. We did that yesterday, and today we're going to talk again about factored form and standard form. So we're going to start with this question: y is equal to x plus 1, x plus 3, that's in factored form. We would be able to find the x-intercepts. They would be minus 1 and minus 3, and we want to change it to standard form. And we're going to use a method called the chart method. And I thought that before we use the chart method with x's, we would try the chart method with just regular numbers. So if I had 4 plus 1 times 3 plus 6, 4 plus 1 is 5, 3 plus 6 is 9. We know that 5 times 9, our answer should be 45. So we want to use the chart method to get 45. So what we're going to do is we are going to put the 4 and the 1 in the top part of the chart, the 3 and the 6 on the side of the chart. And now we're going to multiply. When two brackets are next to each other, it means we're multiplying. So let's try. 4 times 3 gives you 12. 1 times 3 gives you 3. 4 times 6 gives you 24. And 1 times 6 gives you 6. So we've multiplied, but instead of just multiplying once, multiplying the 5 and the 9, we multiplied 4 times. 4 times 3, 1 times 3, 4 times 6, and 1 times 6. And we know that those numbers on the inside should give us 45 because 5 times 9 is 45. So if this chart method is going to work, when we put all the stuff on the inside, all those 4 answers together, it should also give us 45. So let's put 12 and 3 and 24 and 6 together. Let's add those numbers up. 12 plus 3 plus 24 plus 6. Hey, that also gives us 45. So this chart method is just a new way that we can multiply. And the chart method is really helpful when we have x's and we're trying to multiply x's. So let's go back again and look at that first question. X plus 1, so we put the x and the 1 across the top, times x plus 3, so I put the x and the 3 along the side. And now we're going to multiply. Instead of multiplying only once, those brackets squished together means we're supposed to multiply. We're going to multiply 4 times. We are going to multiply the x times the x. And if I multiply x times x, that gives me x squared. If I multiply 1 times x, that gives me 1x. If I multiply x times 3, or 3 times x, that gives me 3x. And if I multiply 1 times 3, that gives me 3. We have just done the same thing that we did with our numbers in the last example. And remember, those numbers in the last example, the answer was supposed to be 45. And so in order to get the 45, we combined the 4 answers on the inside of the chart. So what we need to do when we're multiplying is we need to combine the x squared, the 1x, the 3x, and the 3 to get the right answer. So we're going to do that right now. If I combine x squared plus 1x plus 3x plus 3, and I simplify, that's going to give me x squared plus 4x plus 3. So what I started off with at the top was an equation for a quadratic in factored form, and what I have at the bottom now is an equation of a quadratic in standard form. But those two equations should give us the exact same graph, just like we looked at yesterday when we were matching our graphs, or matching our equations. So let's try with Desmos. I love Desmos. Okay, so we're going to enter y is equal to x plus 1, x plus 3 into Desmos. And when I do that, I get this beautiful graph. Okay, and it's got zeros at minus 3, zeros at minus 1 because of the x plus 3, x plus 1. And if I take the 3 times the 1, it gives me 3, and that's why my y-intercept is there. So what I want to check now is if I graph the second equation, the equation that was in standard form, the x squared plus 4x plus 3, I want to check that it's the same graph. And it actually is the exact same graph. That blue graph is now just covering our initial red graph. So that means we multiplied correctly, because if you multiply right, the factored form and the standard form should give you the same graph. Let's try one now that has negatives in it. Let's try y is equal to x plus 2 times x minus 1. And I'll try that right here on my table, and we'll work at it together and see if you can master this on your own at home. Okay, I'm sitting at my dining room table and I'm going to try this question right now. I would love it if you had paper and a pencil in your hand so you could try it along with me. Okay, so I have this equation in factored form, and just to review, we know that this means plus 2 means it goes through minus 2, minus 1 means it goes through plus 1. We know that the middle would be bunny hop. Oh, the middle would be over here somewhere. Draw my axis of symmetry, and I would draw my quadratic. Goes like this. And if we want to know this point on the y-axis, we know if I multiply the plus 2 and the minus 1, 2 times minus 1 means it should touch the y-axis at minus 2. So we talked a little bit about that yesterday. Today, we're multiplying x plus 2, x minus 1. So I want to multiply. Right now, when they're squished together, that means multiply. But instead of multiplying once, I'm going to multiply 1, 2, 3, 4 times. I'm going to multiply x times x squared. 2 times x, 2x. Minus 1 times x, minus 1x. Minus 1 times 2, minus 2. This right here, that's the answer. But it's not the answer until we simplify. That means I need to put it together. Just like I put together the 24, the 6, those 4 numbers inside to get 45, I need to simplify this part. So I have y is equal to x squared. There's no sign here, so that means it's a plus 2x, and then minus 1x, and then minus 2. I need to simplify. There's nothing that's like x squared. There's nothing that's like minus 2, but these ones both have an x, so I can put them together. X squared, 2x minus 1x gives me just 1x minus 2. That means that this equation in factored form and this equation in standard form, if I answer them into Desmos, they should give me the same graph. And notice, this is interesting, this minus 2 here, the last number in standard form, it matches with the y-intercept of our graph. So in standard form, it tells you the y-intercept, and in factored form, it tells you the x-intercepts. And don't get confused. Sometimes they call them x-intercepts. Sometimes they call them zeros. When you get to grade 11, they might call them roots. But all those words just mean where it touches the x-axis. I'm going to just check with Desmos. I hate to do math questions without checking to make sure it works. So I'm going to check with Desmos right now. So I've checked with Desmos, and my equation in factored form, the first equation with the brackets, and the second equation, the equation in standard form, both give me the same graph. You can't see the red graph for the factored form because the green graph, the standard form, is actually covering it. So that means I haven't made a mistake. So this is your homework for tonight. We've done question 1 and 3 together from the assignment. You need to do questions 2, 4, 5, and 6. And you will know that you have not made a mistake if you check with Desmos, and when you graph both of the equations at the same time, you only see one graph. I will be on Google Meet between 1:30 and 3 every day this week. Please see me if you have questions, and please leave me a comment in YouTube to let me know you've watched the video. I love to know who's watching, and I love to know what you think of my videos. Have a great day. Miss you all. I can't wait to be back in the classroom with you again sometime soon.